like people come up to me, they're like, "Is that a wrap?" I'm like, "No, that's paint." And I'm like, "Just be careful, don't cut your finger because you'll get tetanus. Like that's real rust."
What's up, all you auto enthusiasts out there? Buckle up for a unique experience where we have custom vehicles and their owners share the spotlight in our studio. Have you ever seen a cool ride and wondered who the owner is or what the history is behind the build? On today's episode of Tailpipe Talk, we'll be speaking with Angel, who goes by Bomber B14 on Instagram. We'll get to know more about Angel and what inspired him to build a super cool and certainly a one-of-a-kind 1998 Nissan Sentra. Angel, welcome to Tailpipe Talk. How you doing today?
I'm good, man.
Good. Well, before we get started about
the car, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Angel Meza. I'm the owner of Dynamic Auto Works, and this is my creation that I'm known for in the DFW.
Very cool. Very cool. Now I've met your now fiance, but when I first met you, it was your girlfriend.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was that? 5 years ago?
I think so.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be more than that.
Is it? Well, no, it can't be 5 years because well, maybe because I started TSP in 2015, so we just had our 6-year anniversary. So it might have been that first year. It might have been that first year.
Because I met you at Speed Zone. There we go. Yeah. Speed Zone.
Yeah.
Back then, whenever this was somewhere close to being done.
Yeah. They're never done.
No, never done. But yeah, man, it's been a while. It's crazy shit about how we met, which I didn't even know who you were back then.
For me, man, it's never been a popularity contest.
No,
I love the cars. I love the people. I love the builds. I just love seeing the creativity, and that's what drew me to this car when you and I first met. And I don't know, we talked for like an hour, 2 hours or so.
Yeah, and I didn't know who you were. I was like, was just some guy who really wants to know about my car. Yeah. That was it. And back then, this thing used to get laughed at all the time, just because the lighting and all that stuff. Because that's what I grew up around. Yeah, that's what I grew up and watched growing up, and I was like, I want to be like that one day. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's definitely one of my favorite builds. I will tell you, it's
I get that a lot.
The top 5 for sure.
I get that a lot, and I look at it, I'm like, God damn piece of shit. But man, I can't tell you how many times, how many hours I put into this car. I've wrecked it 4 times. Yeah, like it's crazy. Like the adventure this has gone on with me and all the modifications and the learning, and now to where I do it as a business. Yeah. This I would learn on this and then apply it to a learning curve.
It's like when people go to beauty school and they work on the mannequin's hair. This is like your dummy for a while.
Yes, exactly.
Trial and error.
Trial and error there. But I wanted to do that theme on the car. Yeah. Because I was 18 years old. Yeah. Broke. Yeah. And I like rat rods because, one, I don't have to wash them every day. I don't have to sit there and polish it.
True that.
And bought it for $500. Drove to Louisiana, Baton Rouge. Yeah. Not knowing how to drive stick. Drove it back, trying to figure it out, and almost wrecked a couple times.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
So you were living here in Texas. You found the car in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for $500.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Okay.
So in high school, I got out of football because I wasn't liking it anymore. I used to be left tackle in high school, and I was like, this just isn't for me. Like I was okay, but I wasn't like good, and I knew there wasn't a future in it for me as far as college, and I didn't like college. I really didn't.
Bro, so I was left tackle. I didn't think I was that good. Yeah. I did 1 year. I was like, it's not for me.
Get your ass. If the quarterback got hit from his blind side, you get your ass.
Yeah, right.
So, but I did have fun because I played with my friends. And stuff.
Absolutely.
That's how you got into it. It's like, hey, let's go play football. Right. We play for the school. Blah blah blah. It was fun, and like I did work out. I started lifting weights. I remember a little story of me learning how to do squats. I fucking fell with like 300 pounds, I think, or 100 pounds. I don't even know how much it was in middle school. Yeah. Hurt my back a little bit. And after that, like I always had a pain in my back. And I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. But I was getting out of it because I knew I didn't have a guaranteed college degree. I wasn't that good. So I was like, you know what? I like cars.
Yeah. So this one, you went out of state and got it.
Yes. So leading up to the thing, I used to have a job at a factory.
Okay.
I made like, I think $9 an hour, made like $600 every 2 weeks. And I just couldn't understand how people lived off of just making this much. And I told myself, you know what? Whenever I was in high school, my teacher told me, if you want to get a decent job and learn more about cars, you need to go to UTI. So I went to UTI and I met this old cat. His name was Reggie. He's ex-Air Force. He lived in Louisiana. And I would drive my little Sentra over there, or my little Altima, to work and back or whatever. I would work about 3 months into being at UTI. I got a job offer at BMW. And they picked me up while I was going to UTI.
Oh, wow.
And I would work from 7 to 5 and then haul ass to school because I didn't have a computer, because I didn't have enough money to buy a computer. Haul ass to work, get into the computer lab for 30 minutes every day, do my homeschool work, my whatever they had us do, and knock that stuff out, and then go to class from about 6 to 10:30 or 11, get out, get home by 12. And one day he decided, he's too old. He doesn't want to be doing this for the rest of his life, like working on cars as a living. Because he's already, I think he was in his mid-40s, maybe mid-50s.
Yeah.
And he was thinking about leaving. And I asked him, I was like, hey, man, what are you going to do with your car? And it was this car. He named it Tank.
Yeah.
Because it kept going.
Right.
Like, it was his, they've had it, I think they had it for like 10 years or something. And his daughter learned how to drive stick in it. He learned how to drive stick in it. He taught his son how to drive stick in it, I think. And he's like, you really want to buy it? And I was like, yeah. I was like, does AC work? He's like, you know what? I don't even know. So sitting there in the car, he turned on the AC, kicked on. He didn't even know the AC even worked.
Yeah.
And it was blowing ice cold. And I was like, you know what? In Texas, a little car that saves gas. It was like back then it was like $20 to fill up the freaking gas tank.
Yeah.
And what's it called? Did that, and he was like, you know what? He's like, I'm gonna get out of school, and if you really want the car, like, come pick it up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I'll send over the title for you, and give me $500 for it, and she's yours. And I was like, well, I don't even know how to drive stick. He's like, well, you gonna learn then and there. So I told my cousin Eddie, I was like, hey, can you drive me to Louisiana in my car, and I'm gonna go buy this car and I'll drive it back.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, man. He dropped me off, and then he drove back behind me because I didn't know how to drive stick.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there
You're literally
doing this
learning.
number. Yeah, I'm learning, And the car wasn't perfect. Like, it had the roof was dented a little bit because he said a tree fell on it.
Yeah.
And a branch smacked the roof, and the windshield broke, so he replaced just the windshield. Had a little dent on the quarter panel, which you really can't tell anymore. And then it needed maintenance, like, brakes, had oil leaks, stuff that needed to be done to it.
And so this was what, like 8 years ago? You were...
I think this was in 2014, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had the car while I was at UTI.
So you've had it for a while then.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
This car I learned on, man. Like,
yeah.
It was just for fucks, just for the fuck of it.
Yeah.
My first original plan on the car was kind of do a graffiti deal on the car, like where I paint graffiti. But I didn't know how to do graffiti.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's out the window. And
well, what was your first mod on it?
Do
you remember your very first modification?
What do you?
Anything to modify?
I had to make it practical because I liked going on road trips. So the first thing I did was I put the roof bars on it.
Okay.
The eBay ones, they were like universal crap, like $50 or $60.
Yeah.
And I found the clamp that fits, and I tightened them down. And then after that, I got the, how everyone used to do back in the day, HID headlights to see at night with my yellow headlights that were all done up. And my bumper was falling off. I remember I would drill holes on the fender and the bumper, and I would do what they call the drifter stitch. And then I slapped a sticker on that said Zip Tie Tech on there.
Yeah.
And then I did that. And then I didn't have enough money for a basket because back then a basket was like $150, $200.
Yeah.
That was like maybe almost a quarter, or no. Yeah, at least a quarter of my check back then. And so I decided, I was like, I was at work at BMW and I saw a pallet just laying there. I'm like, you know what? I remember seeing these like these U-bolt clamps at Home Depot. So I went to Home Depot, paid like $8 for these clamps, and then got the pallet, and I decided to drill holes into it so I could just clamp it down to the roof rack. So I had a pallet up there with a golf cart flag on the antenna, just flapping around, just for the fuck of it, just for fun. And then I got on eBay and I ordered the little square pod lights.
Yeah.
They were like 20 or 30 bucks, and I used those for my fog lights at night. And then I bought another like slim LED bar to go in the center section because it had a different bumper back then, just so I could see at night. So I would turn those on. And then I eventually saved up enough money and got me a real roof rack. And that other roof rack, I ended up selling it, but that one has a lot of stories to tell too, man. Like
the pallet?
No, the roof. Like I had a roof basket.
That's right. That's right. You did.
The one that was fully all the way across.
Yeah.
That one's held probably 10 sets of wheels, a toolbox up there. It's had transmissions up on it. Like the car used to be covered in transmission fluid when I had my Firebird because I had to get it rebuilt, took it off, put it on top, and drove around with it with fluid coming out of it. And I'm telling you, man, it's seen some shit. Like
it's a workhorse.
Like I remember one time with my coworkers, they decided to go to Broken Bow, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And this is when the car was still white. They had me lead the way because my foreman at the time, or he still has the truck, had a 1983 C10 single cab.
Yeah.
And they like to go kayaking and all that stuff. And I didn't have a kayak, but I was like, hey, y'all mind if I tag along? They're like, let's go. So they had me lead the way to there. And before this happened, I remember driving there and they said, hey, we're going to stop here and eat here. Well, I missed the damn exit. So the next exit was probably like 10 miles down the highway. So I decided to exit and go off-roading. So I went up off the side of the hill up on this little four-cylinder, and the roof rack was full of crap. The trunk was full of crap, and the back seat was full of all their crap too, and my stuff. I had 4 tents in there, canopy, like all kinds of crap, and then on the roof rack too. Went up the thing and then got to the stop sign at the very top where the bridge was, and some guy in a Mustang pulled up. And he's like, did you really just come up the side of the hill that steep on this little car? And I was like, yeah. He's like, God dang, man. He's like, how much horsepower does that thing have? I was like, 80 horsepower? I dynoed it because I dynoed at UTI, and I think I got the record for the lowest horsepower vehicle on the dyno, and it made 80 horsepower. But later on in the night, when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, you can't see crap.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like you on the road, you just see nothing but bugs hitting the windshield, And my coworkers were like, hey, you need to go ahead of us because you have LED lights, and he has the old school halogen headlights on his car, on his truck. And he can't see like more than 10 feet in front of him. He's like, you lead the way and I'll just follow you. I'm like, okay. So I had LED bars on the bottom and on the top at this time already on my roof rack and on my bumper. And I will never forget this. There was this truck coming opposite way, and I'm going this way with just my lower lights on, pointed down. And I guess he didn't like it because he couldn't see. So he decided to flash his LED bars. Keep in mind, I only have one little LED bar at the bottom.
Right.
And I have 2 pod lights. My HIDs aren't even on high beams, and I have a big ass, I think 35-inch LED bar up top. And he's like, I was like, okay, you want to fucking play? All right. So I hit the switch of death, blinding him. And after he did that, he turned off all his lights. He's like, all right, I give it quits. And my coworkers called me, and they were cracking up because I defeated that guy with blinding him because he was being an asshole. I was like, I had my lights pointed down and everything. But this car went to Oklahoma that time. It's been Arkansas before. Drove back. I've gone to San Antonio in it. That was fun.
Have you made any? Have you done any performance mods on it?
So it's on BC coilovers.
Okay.
They're not all the way low. I have BC coilovers on it. I have EBC brake pads on it because I used to have to stop quick, especially with all the stuff I used to carry on it. The tires on it are Neogens. I have long tube headers, and the exhaust was custom built by Top Speed Pro 1. It's all stainless steel from the headers back. All, you've seen their work.
They do it's
amazing work.
Absolutely amazing.
That's really it. And a drop-in air filter. That's it. Like, there's nothing crazy done to it.
So, obviously it's eye-catching. There's a lot of custom stuff done to the outside. Between everything you've ever done to it, what it looks like now, in the past, what's one of your proudest modifications or mods that you've done to it? Which one do you like the most? Which one are you most proud of?
I don't know, man. It's hard to say on my car.
It is, because there's everywhere you look, there's something unique and cool, and
people don't catch it most of the time. They're looking at it and they're like, "Oh, it's just a rusty car," but then you start looking at it and they're like, "Oh, like a lot of times, like what catches people's attention on it is the fender, the front fender. They think it's a wrap or something. Like people come up to me, they're like, "Is that a wrap?" I'm like, "No, that's paint." And I'm like, just be careful, don't cut your finger because you'll get tetanus. Like that's real rust.
That's real rust.
My personal favorite thing, I guess, I would have to say the fender, man. Honestly, the front left fender, because I did it out of pure laziness. I did it out of pure laziness. I did not want to repaint the shark mouth on it. Yeah. Because I've wrecked it, like I said, I think 4 or 5 times. Yeah. And I was going to sit there and I mask it off and redo the mouth. And I was like, you know what? I was like, fuck this. I had a stack of license plates. And I just kind of formed it, and I just started drilling holes and riveting it on there. Yeah. And people think I'm from California because of it. But I'm like, no, those are the plates that I had. And I like that they were...
embossed.
Yeah, they're embossed. Yeah. So they're not flat like the Texas ones. That fender, the license plate fender, that's how it probably took me maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2. And I would just sit there, and my dad gave me some cheap what do you call it? Body hammers. Yeah. And I would sit there and just hammer the fender out. And when I made that, it was just out of pure laziness. I did the first arch you see, and then to fill it in, literally I took a tire crayon and some paper, put the paper on there, and I would just like scribble it so I could see where the hard lines were at, and I would cut it out in paper, take that template to a license plate, and cut it out to the shape, and hammer it on, and then rivet it on. That's literally all it was. It wasn't even that hard to do. Is it perfect? No. Is it nice? No. But that's the theme of the whole car. This was my daily for 2 years. So when it broke down on me or I needed to do something, it needed to be done that night or something that could continue on. Like I kid you not, my fiance, when we started dating, she had a Camaro SS, man. Yeah. And this is why I got my Mustang later on, but she had a fast car. And I'm over here sitting in this, bucket of a car, 80 horsepower, 1995 car, doing my stuff to it, but every time I would break down. Yeah. Babe, can you come pick me up? Can you come help me do this or that? Because I was broken down on the side of the road. And I would sit there and fix the car on the side of the road, get it running, take it home, go to work the next day, and just keep going. And then whenever I started working on cars on the side, this was my freaking workhorse right here. Yeah. I used to put the toolbox on the top or load it up in the trunk and go make my money that I had to make.
What are your future plans with it?
This car? Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I have one point I wanted to LS swap it, cut the tunnel out in it, make a rear wheel drive out of it. I still want to do an SR20 swap with the turbo out of it, but I've wrecked it in the front so many times that, like I told you the other day, I've been thinking about scrapping it and turning it into a trailer to tow it with another one that I built, but I don't know. I want to make it fast, but I know I'll get in trouble making it fast. Because I kid you not, I'm on the highway sometimes and I'm just stomping. Hammer down. I'm like, come on, let's go. You got to. And then if I get behind someone, they have a draft going over me, the car starts taking off. But as soon as it hits wind, it's done, man. It's done. But
you're not tailgating, you're drafting, huh?
Yeah, man. Like I changed up the roof rack because I had the eBay roof rack stuff on there. Mm-hmm. And when I had my Mustang, I bought Yakima stuff cheap because on Facebook you can find stuff for cheap. So I decided to transfer it over to the Sentra to have something nice on it. Yeah. And I was planning to put more LED bars on it, like how I had before, because I used to have 4 LED bars on the roof rack, and then the one in the front of the bumper, and then the one in the back when I reverse. I did start to get more parts for it because I was going to do interior and stuff. I still need to weld up the trunk because if I open the trunk up, and I removed the sheet metal. There's just a big hole there because my exhaust exit the way it is.
Now, you mentioned the interior before. Have you done anything with the interior this last 7-8 years you've had it?
So on the interior, it's all original. Aside from the 200SX bucket seats, which is the front wheel drive version of this car. It's just a 2-door. Those seats have more side bolstering on it. I have that. There's signatures all over the car because if I was stuck on the side of the road or if someone gave me a part or gave me a deal or they even helped out with the car with an idea, they signed the car on the inside.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you looked at the inside, I think you signed it.
I did sign it. I think Hot Import Nights or something. Yep.
Yeah, you signed it. Your signature's somewhere in there.
Yep.
And I've been wanting to redo it, and I have new interior for it, but I just don't know if I'm going to.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much work the car needs. Like, me not knowing how to wide body a car or put fender flares on, I cut out the fender flare or the fenders on the car. And then it's a 4-door, so I'm kind of limited on how much I can cut and go lower. Again, I learned with this car.
Right.
But I do want to, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet.
Yeah.
I want to make it fast. I want to make it cool, but I don't know if it's worth it.
Well, it's already cool.
Yeah.
You made it cool.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely made it cool. Because
I want to do like a bomber style interior.
Yeah.
But that's talking $3-5 grand maybe.
Yeah.
And then
it definitely grabs people's attention.
Yeah. I've thought about bagging it, but that's another $3,000-$4,000 into it. And I don't think it's worth it if I do that. I don't know. Taking off the side skirts, put in a different motor. I don't know, man. I don't know. I've kind of ran out of ideas. That's why I stopped doing anything to it. It's kind of become its own character. Like, whenever I first started on the car, it was just a joke. Like, put this wing on it. Like, the first thing that was done to it was that wing. And a coworker of mine's like, here's all these license plates. He said, you want a wing? Let's go. And he started drilling holes in it with self-tappers, bent it up like the duckbill wings. And I just supported it with wrapping more license plates behind it. And it just went on from there. I was like, fuck it, let's do this, let's do that. And it just became a joke. Yeah. And the reason I got suspension on it is because the stock one was wore out. That's probably my first major mod was the suspension. Yeah. Put coilovers on it and dropped it like a couple inches. And then I started dabbling into the headlight stuff. I built my headlights back then. They look like eyes. Like if I pull up a picture from back then, you could look at the car from the front and it had eyes. Like I painted the center red and everything and had HIDs. And then when I would park the car, the white paint on the inside was glow in the dark. So the eyes would stay on technically at night. Yeah. That's another thing I had back then. Oh, when I started rusting it out, the first version of the hood was the Rising Sun in rust. Yeah, right. With glow in the dark, clear coated on it, so the Rising Sun would glow in the dark. And then I ended up breaking that. I had the mouth painted on it at one point on both sides, and I just change it up every year because one thing it's nice to know that people copy my car in other parts of the country, but there's already, I think, three cars that look just like mine, same make and model.
Oh, really?
They just duplicate what I do, and that's why I changed it up. And I just like always people tell me like, oh, I've seen your car over here, seen this and that, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna change it up again. And like that year that you wanted, like when you surprised me you wanted me to be on the cover. Mm-hmm. I was in the middle of changing it up. I was doing a 50-50 color
I
swap
remember that.
on
I had to wait.
And
I waited on you.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I had to hurry up.
It was like a month.
Yeah, I was like, dude, it was like, give me a month because I was working at BMW, and it's just time, man. Like it's a race against time. Like now that I own my own business, like it's crazy. Like I'm blessed right now to have so much work. Like people keep bringing me work. I'm like, hey, it's a month or two out. No problem. Just let me know when you're done. And let me know whenever I'm next in line, and we'll start on it or whatever. And but it's a race against time. Like back then, I didn't know. Like as a technician in the flag world, you're like bam, bam, bam. Like do this, you got to do this quick. Go to the next car, bam, bam, bam. It taught me to be fast on work. And like every day, man, you only have 24 hours a day. And me and you have talked about this. Like you have 24 hours a day. You're probably sleeping 5 or 6 and working the rest of them. Right. Or spending time trying to split yourself up to, be with family, be with friends.
Gotta have a side hustle, man, if you want to make it.
Yeah, man.
The paycheck just gets you there.
I know. Yeah. that. But this car has definitely been a huge learning experience. I've met so many people for it. Like, it used to be fun. It was funny because back then when I first started doing it, people would look at it and laugh at it.
Yeah.
And now people, like I posted something like back then they laughed at it and now they admire it. I go to car meets and like the best thing in my mind is when I go to a car show or a car meet and I pull up in this, rusty car parked next to these, nice cars. Don't get me wrong, like they're badass cars, like these new done up painted cars.
Right.
But when you have a kid that's like 4 or 5 years old comes up to you, and he's like, "Look, Dad, like this is cool. That's a cool car." They like that car. It's just they're in their mind. Maybe one day they're gonna remember your car and like grow up to want to do something like that or get into cars.
Oh right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Super cool.
Yeah. But yeah, man. That's the best thing in the world is whenever I see a little kid and then, dude, like, I think I went to my buddy's gender reveal like maybe a month or two ago. Yeah. And Monica wanted, so me and Monica, that's my fiance. If y'all don't know Monica, I've been with her since I was 18. So we've been together almost 8 years now, I think.
Who came first, the car or Monica?
Monica.
Oh.
Monica came first. Yeah. When she's very supportive. When I first got the car and was doing stuff to it, she didn't realize how much money I was putting into it.
Yeah.
Dude, I kid you not, I maxed out my credit cards at the time. Destroyed my credit score, and now I'm learning about it, how to do all that stuff, but don't put your stuff on your credit cards, kids, and pay your crap off. Trust me.
It'll
pay off in the long run. It'll pay off in the long run, man. Don't play with your credit score. But what's it called? Yeah, I've been with her for 8 years, and she's like, you know what? She's like, I want to get fucked up today. And I was like, all right, so I'm driving. You're going to get drunk, right? Because it's always like that, right?
Yeah.
If you're drunk and she stops drinking or, the other way around. And I was like, okay, what do you want to drink? She's like, well, I don't want none of this. She's like, I want to go find my beer. And she's recently started liking the Modelo Micheladas.
Yeah.
And they're like the big, canisters.
Right.
And she's like, well, let's go to QT and see if we find it. And we go searching for a beer because it's hard to find. And I went to QT that was in Grand Prairie or in Arlington, right off of I-20. And I parked there, go inside, and I go look for her stuff. And I'm maybe in there maybe 5 minutes. And I come back outside. And these kids, like 4 little kids, are like around my car. They're like, whoa, like that's cool. Like the lights do all this stuff or whatever. And I come outside and they're like looking at me like, oh crap, that's the guy that, that's his car. And one kid's like, is this your car? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I like it. Can I take a picture of it? I was like, yeah, go for it. So he went to his mom and was like, can I see the phone? And he took a picture of it.
That is super cool.
And that's really a nice feeling whenever you have little kids.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Or even like adults. Like
Absolutely.
I'm driving sometimes and I kid you not, like people are like breaking their necks, like looking this way, like what the fuck is that? Yeah. Or they give me a thumbs up, honk at me or whatever. And it's always a cool feeling. But that was a cool story. And I had one kid ask me one time, and that's whatever it gave me the idea of trying to find someone that can do them, is he's like, do you have a Hot Wheels of your car? And I was like, no, I don't. They don't make my car on Hot Wheels because it's not a popular car. Like, it's not like a Civic. This is an unsung hero.
So you're right. A 98 Sentra by itself is not a popular vehicle.
Yes.
But that's a popular vehicle because a lot of people know your vehicle in DFW, even outside of DFW.
Yes, I go to car meet sometimes.
That's a big deal.
I've either they know me because of my car or I've worked on their car.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, Angel, what's up, bro? And I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? And Monica, kind of feeling left out. She's like, who's that? And I'm like, I honestly don't remember, babe. But I probably worked on their car or they know me because of my car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I always tell people, I meet 1 to 5 people a day new.
Right.
Because I travel around the DFW working on people's cars in my work van for my business. So I always tell people, I was like, look, if you see me in a car meet, like, say what's up, but don't feel bad if I don't remember your name. I was like, I might remember your car and when I worked on it, but I'm not going to remember your name.
There's been jokes and memes about that. I mean,
yes.
I'll talk to you 10 times. I'll remember your car, but I won't remember your name.
Exactly the same way. But yeah, man, it's crazy. And when I first started showing it off, really was Mondays Don't Suck.
Yeah.
Back in 2016, 2015.
Yeah.
That's when I really started coming out to shows because that was right down the road from me. I just, get out of work,
Absolutely.
On the way
Super
home,
close.
it's right there on the way, which is one of the best car shows. But it does get shut down because people don't know how to act right.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things when you attract 1,000+ cars a day.
Right. Right.
It's bound to happen. You know,
Yeah.
and it's understandable. I don't mind paying $1 or $2, whatever the entrance fee is,
Sure.
just to pay the cop to
Sure.
be there and control everything. And,
I agree with that.
People complain about, oh, why do I got to pay to go to a free car meet at a parking lot? Dude, if you see if you see some car, when you get like 1,000 cars coming in and out in total, like within a 3-hour span, how would you not want to go there? And there are people that go just to freaking show off. I've never been the type of person that just rev bombs the car or shows up and playing super loud music. I just start strolling through and just watch people. Like, I see it on the corner of my eye. They're like, oh shit, like, you know, or like the little kids start pointing. And a lot of people, they remember whenever the car was not even the way it is right now. Because I think this is phase 3. Because it was green at one point with the shark mouths on it. And then I went to a tan side and a green side because I want to be different, 50-50. And then recently I changed it up to being camo green and then camo tan. So that's the current phase, but I've wrecked it 4 times, I think, in the front.
Are you just a bad driver? What happened?
The first time, when did I wreck it the first time? I think it was on Thanksgiving.
Did the 80 horsepower get away from you?
It did, man. It did. It really did, man. So I think Thanksgiving, was that the first time I wrecked it? Yes, it was. It was the first time I wrecked it because that's whenever I put an X.
Thanksgiving when? Last
20,
Thanksgiving?
No.
20, I was going to say you wrecked it 4 times since last Thanksgiving.
That was 2015, 2014.
Oh, okay. So you spaced them out like just once a year?
I think so. Yeah. Honestly, I really do. So the car doesn't have ABS, right? So when they lock up, they lock up on you, the brakes. So I was driving and I was going maybe 40, and that was the speed zone in the area, and I was trying to slow down. And this is when I realized you need to have good tires, like good brand tires, not these Chinese random brand tires. I had some Linglongs. I don't even know what the heck they were.
Linglongs. Oh my gosh.
Some random, like, you know, your little typical, you know, Mexican. Because I live on the side of Irving I live on. It's all Hispanic. So I went to the little tire shop and I was like,
hey, how much? Used ones?
No, I got new ones.
You got new ones?
But they were like 60 or 50 bucks a piece, or like 30 or 40 bucks. I was broke, man. Like, when I tell people I was broke, dude, I kid you not, I was eating ramen noodles, like going to school, trying to better my life.
Builds character, man.
Yeah, and it's one thing. The guy that sold me the car, he's like, always be humble. Yeah. Because you never know. You never know what's gonna happen.
Hard times builds character.
Yeah, man. And so I wouldn't say I had it rough, but my parents weren't wealthy. So my parents are immigrants, came here to give me a better life, and I was born here in Parkland, in Dallas, Texas. And my parents separated, and my dad went his way, and my mom, you know, had to go live with my grandpa and my uncle. Lived in the same house for 16 years. But what's it called? I ended up, you know, moving out. My mom got her apartment. I was living with my mom at the apartment, paying half the rent. I have to pay half the rent, still do bills, you know, pay my car, pay for school, like all this stuff, being 18 years old. But what's it called? Going back to the wreck. So I was driving, and I think I had just put my HID lights on or something. And this is like probably 50 or 60 bucks on my money. And I was driving in the rain, had just got Avid One Wheels, which were like the replicas back then. Some cheap replicas. I think I paid like $500 or $600 for a new set of wheels. 15s by 8s with some aggressive offset. And this is when I started learning how to roll fenders. I learned on my own car and fucked my own car up before I started doing stuff on other people's cars. Like, I rolled them, bought the tool, rolled them, and put my wheels on with some cheap tires on there. And I was driving, getting off the highway, slowing down, and then I realized that there was a line, like it was backed up pretty bad. So I started slamming the brakes harder to slow down. The wheels just locked up, and it was raining, so the wheels just locked up and just slid, boom. And I think it was a Dodge, a little Dodge car. I don't remember what it was, and I'm like, oh crap, it's my first wreck, or no, that's my second wreck. I wrecked my Firebird once. I had to fix that. That's another story, but no, my bad. That was the third wreck that I've been in. That was the third wreck. Monica tells me I'm a bad driver.
My friend.
Hold on. That was a third wreck because I wrecked my Altima that I also owned at the time. I hit her car in the back, and I was probably going maybe 20 miles an hour when I hit her. And then I'm like, it's raining outside. I hopped out of the car, and I look at my car, and it's steaming. And I'm like, fuck. I was like, that's at least my radiator. So the lady gets out, and it's this old lady, maybe in her mid-50s, 60s. She comes out, doesn't even say anything to me. She looks at her car like this, goes like this. And I'm over freaking out. I'm like, fuck, the cops are going to come. I'm going to have to pay insurance, all this crap. And I was like, do you not want my insurance info? And I'm over here like freaking out. I'm over here shaking because I'm like 18 years old and I just wrecked into this lady. She's like, no, it's fine. Nothing happened. Her bumper went in. She didn't care. She's like, so I'm right around.
Wreck into people like that.
I'm right around the corner from where I live, right? So I drive the car home for like 5 minutes, and by the time I get home, it's already overheating.
Yeah.
And I get home and I pop open the hood. The hood's all crunched up, and the front end's already bent in, and it's dripping coolant. I call Monica. Hey, babe, I wrecked. Are you okay? This and that. Yeah, I'm fine. I just need to fix the car. She's like, how are you going to fix it? I was like, can you come pick me up right now? I got to go buy a radiator, pop that in with whatever tools I have here at home, and, keep going. So what I did is, I think it was on a weekend or something. It was probably a Thursday, and we were off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever from work. So that weekend, I went to the junkyard, and I think it was like 50% off on all parts at the junkyard whenever it's Thanksgiving at Pick and Pull. So I went, and I was like, you know what? I found me a fender, found me a hood, found me a new bumper, and another fender. And I found the white ones because that was the color of my car. I put that on the car, and then I got a hammer and straightened it out as much as I could on the frame, on the radiator support. Popped the radiator in, called it good, kept the car going. And then that's whenever I bought an old headlight, OEM one that wasn't smashed at the junkyard, and put some tape on it because it'd been wrecked. I was like, you know what, fucking, do some fun with it.
That's cool, man.
I wrecked it.
So you learned a lot from the car.
Yes.
A lot. I mean,
yes.
7-8 years, mechanical, cosmetics,
yeah,
a little bit of body work.
Yeah, I've wrecked it. After that.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time and telling us about your car and the story behind it.
There's a lot more.
It's pretty cool. We're gonna change gears, and I got some questions for you about the car scene.
Yes. Yeah.
So what's your opinion of the car scene as it is now? How have you seen it change over the years?
I've always had there's a different mix. Like when I got into the game, like I didn't know no one in the car scene. Like the only people I knew back then that were into the car scene were the guys from the Garage Noise podcast.
Okay, yeah.
Ben Flowers, which he's the guy who kind of got me into doing fender rolling and kind of a mentor in as far as doing that kind of stuff on fender rolling. Because I told him, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about making money with this because I have the tool too. Are you cool with me doing it? He's like, yeah, go for it, bro. If you have any questions or need help, give me a call.
And how did you meet Ben?
Ben
at a car meet?
No, man.
No?
So it was him back then. My buddy Juan. Juan had a slammed Maxima, and he always got his work done by Ben.
Oh, I gotcha.
He did the headliner on his like a Galaxy headliner on it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And Ben did that, and Ben rolled his fenders and installed his coilovers and stuff for that. And I heard his name back then. Yeah. I didn't know who he was, and then I saw him on social media, and I saw his car, and I was like, oh, that's pretty badass, Z. And followed him, and then he started his podcast, so I started listening like back then, and I was like, you know what? I was like, he's part of the Mondays Don't Suck meet.
Right,
right. I think he runs half of it or something like that with the guy who does the skate park stuff. And this is me not knowing anyone. I was like, I was working up the nerve to go talk to them. And I would go around asking for Ben Flowers, and everyone would point me in every direction. And I finally met him. And he was over there on his truck making trophies because he would cut rotors up and do designs on them. And that's the trophies for the thing. And I met the guys from Noisy Neighbors.
Yep.
Corey and Rio Ortega. Yep. Cool ass dudes. And I met Ben that same time too. But I really didn't have many friends in the car scene back then. No one really knew who I was. They just knew I had a weird, crazy looking car. And I would just go to Mondays Don't Suck. And I don't know, man. It's just that's how I got into the car scene.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got out of it because like, it was kind of toxic. Like the crew thing. Like that's why I never really rolled with the crew. Like I've heard
like a car club.
Yeah,
it
you know,
becomes
like
very political and a lot
all
of
that stuff, man.
Yeah.
They all like they don't like each other because of this
Yeah.
or that, and I just kind of stay out of it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I've always been a lone wolf. Like, you know what I mean?
Amen to that.
I don't get in with
Nothing
the
wrong with
drama.
that.
Like,
yeah.
this car club said this about us, so F them. We're not gonna chill with them.
Right,
And,
right.
You know, oh, we won this many trophies, blah blah blah, this and that.
Yeah.
I never.
And listen, I will say there's nothing wrong with car clubs. There isn't.
No,
but
there's
I
not.
do feel, and this is my personal opinion, I feel like we're on the same page. But some of them can be, you know, have schedules. You have to do certain things to your car.
That's another thing I've
know,
heard too. Where
it's just there's sometimes there's fees involved, and you know, it's not just like a camaraderie, just a bunch of buddies hanging out anymore.
No, sometimes
you know,
it gets structured where like,
yeah,
oh, you gotta have real wheels, or you have to have this kind of car, or you know, that kind of stuff, or you have to have work done by this certain people.
Yeah.
Like I've heard stuff like that, and
I guess there's nothing wrong with that because if you have a certain image, right? You want to make sure that, you know, whoever you bring into the club also has that same image. So again, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not for everybody. You know, definitely not for everybody.
Like,
so as far as the car scene and events and stuff, what would you say one of your like memorable events? What's been one of your favorite events? I know you mentioned Mondays Don't Suck, which I'm in agreement. I mean, it's a great event.
Yes.
They are bringing it back, I think, in June. You know, so
I'm gonna try and be there. I don't know if I'm gonna take this.
Come on.
Well, it's down the street from me. I don't know if I'm gonna have work. You know, because I gotta, you know,
it's the one that's close to you.
I know.
You need to go.
Now there's another one, but it's a car meet, not a car show.
Yeah.
But if I go with this, or I don't know, man, because my van is starting to look pretty badass now. So I'm kind of like,
the van's cool.
The van
plus it also advertises your business.
Exactly.
It's very cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but for sure, like the most memorable event, I would say whenever I started hanging out with you, man. Like when we went to Hot Import Nights, I never thought my car would be in Hot Import Nights. Like I never got into car shows. Like I would go to Mondays Don't Suck, which they have a car show section.
Right.
And as soon as that's full, like it's done, and you got to get there early, man.
Yeah.
But I would say that was the most memorable, man, because I remember I think who was making videos for you, Tito.
Tito
was making videos for you, and then dang, what's his name?
Yeti.
Yes, there we go. Yeti. Ryan, right?
Huh?
Ryan.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Ryan. He was, dude, super cool guy, man.
Yeah.
And then Matt was there too, and that was a fun day where we just kind of hang out. TSP ladies were hanging around, you know, like you know, giving their stuff away or the merchandise selling stuff. And you and Jen were there, just us all day, literally hanging out and drinking.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was
that
a
was
good time,
fun, man. And then like just watching the video of like, it hit me whenever I was sitting there watching the video. And my $500 car that's rusty is sitting in the showroom of Hot Import Nights, which after that happened, that wasn't planned. That was kind of last minute because Tuned Originals was on the same day, I think, or same weekend.
Yeah,
which that got controversial.
That was
controversial
back
then.
That was wild, man. You know,
because I made the announcement and you called me and you're like, I was gonna invite you over here, and I'm like, well, if we're gonna be at Hot Import Nights inside, I'll go over there and hang out with you guys.
Yeah,
you know, and I was already gonna go over there, but I didn't mind coming to Hot Import Nights with you guys and be inside in the AC and stuff. And so that was super fun, man. And I think that's the day you signed the dash.
It is.
Matt did, and even Tito. If you open the passenger side, he drew a picture on the side of the dash.
Oh, did he?
He did, man. So I don't know if y'all want to record that later on before I go.
That. We'll definitely get that.
Tito, that's when I met Tito.
Yeah.
Tito's a weird guy too, though. He's definitely a fucking character.
He's a character, you know.
By the way, his Instagram name is Century Productions.
Yeah.
Or how he likes to say Century Productions. You know?
Yeah. He's a super talented dude, man. That's for sure.
He's funny though. When I first met him, it was at the Hot Import Nights pre-meetup on the rooftop or wherever we were.
Right.
And he was just over there sitting. I remember this. just like yesterday. He was sitting on the floor with his camera, and he was just talking to himself. And I was like, dude, are you fucking talking to yourself? He goes, huh? Yeah, I do that sometimes. He's just over there just talking to himself. And I was like, what the fuck, Tito? He's like, I'm fucking weird, man. And that's one vivid memory I had of him. Or Ryan also, Yeti.
Yeah.
I think it was in the video where he was rubbing his nipple or like staring at me or something while we were like, he was coming out of the corner or something. That was hilarious, man. I remember that stuff too. That was super fun. But that day at Hot Import Nights was a trip because you didn't let me know that I needed under a quarter tank of gas to get into the inside.
I didn't know all the show rules.
I fucking went with a full tank of gas, bro. And so if y'all ever go into Hot Import Nights and you're going to be in the show, you got to be under a quarter tank of gas.
Yeah, so any indoor show is
any indoor show. And then you got to disconnect your battery too.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. So
and that was my fault too, because I
literally filled up before you called.
Yeah.
And told me that, and I'm like, how am I gonna burn, 15 gallons of gas in a 4-cylinder that makes 80 horsepower? I figured it out though. I figured out a way to get in.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got in, the lady was like, she was looking at my car and she's like, "Are you really gonna come in with this roof rack and stuff on here?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" She's like, "Is there any gas in those?" I was like, "No, ma'am." I was like, "I can open them for you." Because at the time I had 2 tanks.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
2 tanks.
I remember that. Yeah.
Where's the tank? I gave you one of them.
I got it. Hasn't made it over here yet.
Yeah, so I gave you one that was off the roof rack, and then that one that's still on there right now was on the roof rack, and she actually had me open them up, and she checked them out.
Yeah.
Make sure I didn't have no fuel in it. I'm like, okay. She's like, I'm just trying to make sure we don't want nothing spilling and blah, blah, blah. But that was a crazy night, and that's whenever I met, I don't remember his name, but he had the truck with the model that you showed me earlier.
So I know his name, but I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong. It's we'll have to get back to that.
But that's when I first saw his car, and he had his what was it, an Accord, right?
I think so.
That was badass. So. And then I think I had just met Zach with the rusty truck, which right now he's doing. Have you seen what he's doing to it?
Yeah.
It's badass. He's doing a rotary swap.
Yeah.
So I think his Instagram is Rust Bucket, right?
Oh man, I think he's changed it.
I think it's Doritos Tacoma or something like that now.
I think so.
So he's a cool ass dude, man.
Yeah.
He's kind of
that was another cool rat rod build that I really liked.
Yep.
So what would you say is your favorite thing about the car scene?
Just the people you meet, man.
Yeah.
Like I've met so many people.
I agree with you on that. It's the people. The cars are cool, but it's the people behind the cars.
Yeah, because you have different kinds of people. Like you have people who are just into trucks.
Right.
You have people who just like imports. You have the weird people who like the little K cars.
Yeah.
I've met a couple of those guys. They're some kind of cool characters. You know, like they're cool cats. And the mini truck guys, the lowrider guys. There's the dragsters, like the ones that just want to go fast in straight lines and build their cars that way. And there's just so many places you could fit in if you wanted to. I haven't met anyone that or a group in general that I could fit into, but that's probably the best.
You're
thing.
You're a lone wolf, man. You're a lone wolf.
Yeah. I am part of a Facebook group that probably has, I think, like 1,000 people in it that do the same stuff I do.
Yeah.
But that's really it. There's
cool.
nothing crazy on there. I mean, there is crazy shit on there, but like that's just really, I've never really seen people do this style of car where I'm at around ever. And when I do, I start drooling. Or if I see a rat rod in general, I start to drool because like seeing the shifter be all the way up here. Well, I used to have a camshaft shifter now that I think about it. Remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I used to have a camshaft as a shifter. It's freaking huge like this. And I'd sit there and just...
That's cool.
I would just tip and it was just the weight of it would just throw itself forward.
That's cool.
And shift. Yeah, man. It's just mainly the people, man. Like, it's just... I've met so many good people just because of my car. I work on their car. Like, one guy that always sticks in my head is Joe. Joe, when I met him, he didn't know what the hell he was doing with his car. I had to teach him what was what, and, He's one of my good friends that I still talk to right now. He calls me every now and then. He's like, "Hey, you doing good, bro?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And Joe, I met him when he got his Altima. All the guys that I have on my sponsorship, Mike, you know Mike.
Yeah.
I met Mike whenever we did that at Hot Import Nights, that same pre-meet.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeti, me and him went to go do this photo shoot somewhere in Fort Worth or where the hell we were.
Right.
By far one of my most favorite pictures of my car.
Yeah.
Which one day I will get that printed and made a poster of. We spent a good 3 or 4 hours trying to get those shots, and Ryan.
Yeah, Yeti's super talented, man.
All the guys that I've met through my sponsorship, like Angel 50 with the Mustang, fully built Mustang, and what's it called? Reg from Houston. He's a crazy cat. He's hilarious. Ramen, my cousin Junior, doing stuff for him too. I think I have like 9 or 10 people now. You know, it's hard to remember all their names, even though I hang out with them every now and then whenever I get the chance to. And I like to, you know, throw a cookout for them to hang out, come hang out, meet everyone, everyone chill. So there's just...
You've thrown a cookout?
I have before, yeah.
Oh, man. Jenny must have thrown away the invitation.
Fuck out of here. I called you. I called you. You said you couldn't make it.
I'm just messing with you. Hey, so, all right. So we've talked about your build, car scene, events, but our listeners always want to know more about the person behind the build, right? Okay. So you mentioned earlier that seeing the street racing next to where you lived really kind of like gravitated towards the car scene, and you know, which is really cool. Like you had that close to your house.
So I experienced the mid. I think this was probably 2006. No, it's got to be 2004 to 2006, 2007. And I think last time I checked, they still do street racing down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what got me into it. Just watching them, like the cars they had, the same stuff you see in Fast and the Furious.
Right.
Was the stuff that they were doing back then. It was just crazy to me. But yeah, that's what got me into it, man. It's just watching that, watching the movies, like and then I started watching Motor Trend. You know, growing up, I would watch. I think it's called Truckin'.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one thing I started watching that, seeing how they do stuff, and then when I got to high school, I was doing or learning about doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Was there anybody in your family that inspired you? Anybody that had a custom vehicle or would modify vehicles before?
The only person in my family that had a custom vehicle was my uncle, which was my mom's brother. I grew up with him in the same house with my grandpa, but back when we lived in an apartment, I think it was like 12 or 13 of us lived in a 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment. I remember him having a OBS truck. This burgundy sidestep had the flaring, the fiberglass flaring on it.
Right.
It was all done up, man. Like nothing engine-wise, nothing crazy. The engine was, I believe, was stock, but exterior-wise, cosmetics was done up, man. He had curb feelers on it.
Awesome.
He had like 100-spoke Dayton's on this truck with like 15s by 12s, like the old school styling truck from back in the day. He had that, and the interior was also done up in burgundy and wood, everything, like wood trim on the doors. The one thing I remember for sure was the wood steering wheel. It was all wood steering wheel. It wasn't just like wrapped leather. The whole thing was wood. And out of nowhere, I just remember him getting rid of that, and then he had to get a bigger vehicle because my cousin was on the way. So he was born. He ended up selling that truck, and then he bought a Suburban. And this is a Suburban I've talked to you about before.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to find one, which you found it for me, but I just didn't have the funds at the time. But that's the next one I remember him having. Is he did the same thing pretty much, but it was just a Suburban. He had the flares, got some replica wide wheels that were 15s by 10s or something with the aggressive offset. Put a stereo in it, and that was really it. And that's the only thing. I mean, that's the only person that was doing stuff to cars. Really. Everyone else in my family it's just an A to B car.
Yeah,
there's nothing really to it.
It's very interesting. So just having my mom and dad really like my dad would cycle through cars pretty regularly.
Yeah.
But never modified anything, never customized anything. So I don't know how I got into it either. I think it was just buying my first car and 70 Chevelle and was hooked ever since, you know. And it was almost, it was really my dad who pointed out the car at the time, and I'm like, man, that looks cool, you know.
It's just like me. Like when I saw that Firebird, I was like, that looks cool. When I got it and I started looking into it, I'm like, this is technically a sports car.
Sports car, yeah.
You know, it's not a muscle car.
Right.
It's a sports car. Later on, I figured out the difference between a freaking V6 and a V8.
Right, right.
I still got in trouble with the V6 with 200 horsepower in it. And the same way, man.
Now you mentioned the Firebird. Now that was your very first vehicle.
Yep.
Now before the Sentra, before you started customizing to like this level, was there another vehicle in between the Firebird and this that was like a stepping stone, something else Altima, you modified? Did you modify the Altima?
Yeah, so I bought the Altima because I needed something that was more fuel, you know, economy-wise. Fuel was a big issue for me because I drove to work, and then from work I went to school, drove back. I needed something more dependable. Also, the Firebird was getting 18 miles to the gallon with that 3.8 in it, and what's it called? I thought the Altima was going to be better. It wasn't any better because it is a car that probably weighed 4,500 pounds, full sedan car with a 4-cylinder in it. Right. But me thinking it's a 4-cylinder is not going to waste that much gas. I got that car intentionally because I need something more dependable and something bigger because at the time I was living with my mom, and she had my little sister, she's 17 years younger than me. So, you know, I have to keep them in mind where we got to go get groceries. Well, we need the Firebird, but we barely fit in it because it's a poor man's Corvette. It has two seats.
Poor man's Corvette.
It's two seats that the back seat, all it is just foam. Yeah. On contoured to the body of the car. But that's one thing I bought that car for is I put a down payment on it, took it out, and I bought it as a rebuilt title. So I knew it had been wrecked before. I didn't know where the damage was. And my plan was to put coilovers on it. That's the car that got me into the import scene. Not a lot of people modified Altimas back then. But I found out that the front end on the car, because it had been wrecked. Later on, I figured out that the front end had been wrecked because it had mine was a 2008, but it had the 2012 front end on it. So the front bumper, it was pretty much a facelift. Gotcha. My car already had that on there. And I had bought, or Monica, the first year we were together, she bought me, for Christmas or my birthday, I don't remember, she bought me a Stinlin Lip, which is a very reputable import company for like body moldings and such. Right. Which I thought was crazy because at the time I think that lip was going for like $200 or $300.
Stinlin? Yeah, Stinlin. Yeah, Stinlin is a very, very popular brand.
Yeah, very popular. She bought me that. That's one of the first mods I remember doing. And then after that, I put 350 or 370Z wheels on it. And then it got wrecked. And then after that, I went downhill. Yeah. So that's whenever I bought this thing all original in stock because I knew I was eventually going to get rid of that car.
So you've always had some sort of like customizing in your blood, modifying.
I don't like to buy normal cars. Yeah. If you haven't noticed.
They're boring. They're boring.
Yeah, like everyone, the only normal car I had at one point was the Mustang. Like, but when I got the Mustang,
like it was boring.
It was cool. Like I bought a car that had 400 horsepower under, I think it was 28 grand. Yeah. Keep in mind, it was dumb for me because my credit score was not very good. Yeah. And I'm 20 years old with a V8 manual sports car. Yeah. So I jumped from 80 horsepower from this to a Mustang. And literally, that was my workhorse. Like, I drove it I parked it most of the time, but the last year I had it, or the last 2 years, I drove the heck out of it, man. It was loaded up with tools all the time. Like, it got used and abused every day. And that thing, I had some fun with it, and I got in a lot of trouble for it, too. Yeah. So, and now I'm paying for it. But
I'm sure.
Like I said, that car is one of the mainstream cars that I bought, and everyone and their mom has one, and everyone's done anything and everything to them. Everyone just goes on American Muscle and buys this wing, buys these wheels, like all the same stuff. Yeah. Same exhaust, same everything. No one does anything different.
It is very difficult
when it's a cookie cutter kind of car.
It is very difficult when there's a popular style it can only be customized so many ways and so many.
You can do some crazy stuff. Like
no, you can.
But you gotta be doing
super creative or really out there and wild.
So the Altima at the time, some people had some stuff done to it that was nice.
Yeah.
And I was gonna do my own style of it, but then it ended up getting wrecked, and I got rid of it. Got the Sentra just for a beater, just to drive it everywhere. Got the Mustang because I needed something dependable. Because when I was going to Slam the first year, the motor blew on this.
Yeah,
and that's when they stole the wheels.
I remember that.
And then I needed something dependable because this blew a motor, and I didn't have any time to fix it or the money. Because I think I needed at least $500, and at the time I didn't have that kind of money. And but so me and Monica planned a road trip to go to Oklahoma and Arkansas. I think just go up and down. Saved up I think like $1,000. We were gonna go in this. And if we would have gone, the motor would have blew on us on the way there, which would have been bad. And she would have been saying, "I told you so." Never hear the end of that. Yeah. But so I bought myself the Mustang because I'm not going to let my girl have a better, faster car than me because she had a Camaro SS, fully loaded. Yeah. The Camaro 2 SS, and nothing girly about it. Like, it was all blacked out, Borla exhaust. Like, you would not think a girl would be driving this car. It's probably her brother's car or her boyfriend's car. And I didn't like the Challengers. I wanted a Charger, but they were too expensive for me. And the Camaros I just didn't like because I've driven hers before, and it's quick, but I can't see crap out of it. So I went and test drove a Mustang, the cheapest Mustang I could find in the DFW, and it was Kona blue. Had I think they consider the track package, so I had the Brembos on it. 5.0 manual, white interior. Worst decision as a technician to get. White interior does not go well with me. And bought that, and I pulled up to her, and she was like, "Did you seriously buy a Mustang?" I was like, "Yeah. Now I have a fast car like you." And when we were younger, we fucked around on the street racing each other, and I gapped her even though she had stuff done to her car. And my Mustang was stock.
So we'll have to have Monica on and see what the real story is.
Oh, you can tell. You can ask her. I gapped her, man. As soon as I hit third gear in the Mustang, started pulling away from her, and she was automatic.
Let me call her real quick.
Give her a call, man. Give her a call. But that was that was a fun car. But I just got too much. I got too much trouble for it.
So you've obviously been in the car scene for some time now,
yes.
And I think before we even started, you listened to some podcasts and you follow a bunch of groups and pages and stuff like that. Yeah. So is there any celebrities or automotive influencers that you admire or that you stick out to you?
No, not really. I mean, people always ask me "Hey, do you know this person or this person?" and they have this many followers. I'm like, I have no clue. I relatively keep to myself. I do follow cool builds and stuff, but I've never met them in person. Sure. They're not local.
Sure.
No, I don't think so. Really. Yeah. I mean, who do you follow that you would consider that something like that?
Again, Angel, you and I are very much the same in a lot of regards. I don't follow a lot of people. I feel like I'm constantly busy. I'm constantly grinding.
Yeah.
I don't watch hardly any TV. No. There's 100 automotive shows to watch.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I'm always just staying busy. Mm-hmm. So I don't follow a lot of people. It's not to say that I don't care about their builds, because if I see it, I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Like your build, it's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess I just don't take the time to follow the page and follow the build or listen to, other people's stuff. That's just me because I stay busy.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't have the interest. I don't have the time.
Same.
That's
boat.
that's really
man.
The thing is not the lack of interest, because I love the car scene. I love the culture. I love what people are doing, and kudos to everybody out there doing something right now.
Yeah.
Whether it's building cars, whether it's selling merchandise, or manufacturing parts, or whatever it is. Kudos to anybody out there who's keeping the automotive scene thriving. Certainly I'd like to say that I'm doing my part. Helping people get connected and all that good stuff. So having built a custom car, what advice or words of wisdom could you give somebody that's maybe just getting their first car? What to do, what not to do? You know,
yeah.
Is this going to be a minute?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Like,
so one thing I always tell people for sure, don't go crazy with your daily. That's one mistake I did have. Like I said, like every time it broke down or I ran into an issue, I had to fix it that day. And if you're not mechanically inclined, guess what? You're gonna have to pay someone to do it. By the way, hit me up if you need coilover, suspension, air ride, custom headlight builds. I'll do all that stuff. But this is the point where you do decide what you can and can't do. You know what I mean? If you're gonna do a crazy build, and by crazy I mean like you're gonna put air ride on your car and it's a daily, don't do it, because later on in the line you're gonna have air leaks, the bags are gonna go out. If you're in San Antonio and then your bags are 3 years old or 4 years old, you might get a leak. You never know. I mean, I think it's happened to you before, right? Where something breaks and you're out in the middle of nowhere. There's got to be a time where.
Oh, I've definitely had my issues.
You know what I mean? So
generally, it's not from a modification, though. I will say that. Usually, it's just some sort of like fuel pump goes out, a module goes out.
Well, here's the thing. For my car, since I daily drove this thing,
yeah,
like I'm kidding you not, like every 6 months I would have to rebuild the bearings in the front end because of the wheels are so wide offset.
Sure.
A part will fail because this car is what now 23 years old. So the hoses fall apart.
Oh, sure.
Like, it's just things like that, you know.
It's maintenance. It's, upkeep.
Yeah, it's just one thing that people don't, or Monica doesn't realize is it's 23 years old. Stuff's gonna break on it, and I've done everything to that car. It has a semi rebuilt motor. Like the internals are still stock, but it's been resealed. Stock motor. Transmission has been just flushed out. It's bushings that wear out, control arms, suspension. It's just everything's been done on the car, axles. But if you're really going to dive deep into it, get you your project car and get you a daily. So one thing I always tell people, like, do not think you're going to put this on and it's going to work and you're going to drive it the next day, because something always happens no matter what.
It's pretty good advice, man.
It is, man, because I'm telling you from experiences, I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
I've learned the hard way.
Yeah. Well, Angel, man, it's always great seeing you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day.
Yeah, let me know.
I know since you started working, on your own, running your own business. I mean, you've been busy,
which is a blessing.
Guys, check them out. Dynamic Auto Works on Instagram, mobile service all over DFW, fender rolls.
Mechanical work,
whatever you need. Really, like, just hit him up, ask him what he does. He'll tell you if he can do it or not. But mobile service, you can't beat it. He comes to you. So
I do stay booked out. Just giving people's heads up. People get upset because they have to wait a week, but that just speaks of my work. That just
means you're good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I usually stay a week or two booked
one guy.
out. Yeah. So just let me know, and if you want to follow the car, it's Bomber B14 on Instagram, and that's really, I don't have a website built for it yet.
Yeah.
Jason hasn't helped me.
That's right.
I do want to say this though. So I do want to create a video series about my company. So that's in the works.
That's
cool. I just gotta figure out how I'm gonna do it, because I'm gonna have.
So all the jobs that you do and things.
Well, I'm gonna have the guys that are on the sponsorship program talk about how they met me or why they chose to be part of me instead of, whoever else they were going to be with. You know? Because I do have, I think, 10 cars now. And the final episode will be me talking about how I became, or how I got to where I am now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because people are always interested in, like, how'd you start doing your own thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people, like, always say, oh, it must be nice, but they don't realize, like, 8 years ago, I literally started with a Harbor Freight toolbox, the roll cart with Harbor Freight tools, and I just worked my way up. And I had this thing that barely ran. You know what I mean? You start somewhere, man. Like your humble story where you came from California over here.
Dude, it's,
you know what I mean?
It's pretty wild, man. It's pretty wild.
It is.
So, if you work hard and you
Yep.
you keep at it, and it'll
I remember
it'll come around.
I remember 4 years ago when me and Monica got our first apartment. It was
Yeah.
completely empty.
Yeah.
Just it was my buddies helped me move the bed in, put our TV up, and we had 2 little cheap stools and a bucket we sat on and drank all night.
There you go,
It
baby.
was crazy. And now
That's all
here
you
I am.
needed. See, that's all you needed. Look at you now.
Yeah.
So, well, again, man, pleasure seeing you,
Always
getting to
great
know
seeing
more about you every time we talk. So,
Yeah, I know.
thank you so much for taking the time.
Yep.
It's been an awesome experience. And thank you to everybody for tuning in and listening. Hope you've enjoyed our podcast. If you'd like to watch the video version and see the details of Angel's Nissan Sentra, make sure to check out our YouTube channel, Texas Show Promoters. If you haven't heard about Texas Show Promoters, it is the #1 source for all auto event info and also the largest community of enthusiasts in the state of Texas, with over 80,000 combined followers between Instagram and Facebook. So, make sure to give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook and never miss an event again. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, as we'll have new episodes every Friday with some very cool builds and even cooler owners. If you have a custom vehicle yourself, live in the DFW area, and would like to tell your story, please reach out and let us know. Maybe it'll be your name on our marquee next time.